Welcome back to another episode of Mr. Franklin Explains Some Math. Here we're going to look at the 1040, the tax form, and I am fully aware that there is nothing more exciting in this world than watching somebody fill out tax forms, but there are a few things on here that people often have questions about, so I want to take this a section at a time. So let's look up here. First off, the filing status. We've talked about this. We've got some options. We've got single, married filing jointly, married filing separately. That often applies to people who are in the process of getting divorced, but there are some people who just want to keep their finances separately. They pay extra tax. Then there's head of household. That is an unmarried person that has dependents. That's what I use. And then there's qualifying widow or widower. If you're married and your spouse dies, you still get to file as a married person. I don't know if you still get that if you are the one that caused their death, but that's different. So we're going to be working with a totally made-up family, and so this is married filing jointly. There's some stuff here about dependents. If you checked the married filing singly box, enter the name of the spouse. If you checked the head of household or qualifying widower box, enter the child's name if the qualifying person is a child but not your dependent. That does not seem to apply to most situations, so I'm going to skip it. It would be unusual. So we've got a family. We've got Amy and Alan Cimino. So I'm going to write in there information. Here, your first name and middle initial. That would be Amy R. is the mom in this situation, and the last name is Cimino, C-I-M-I-N-O. And her Social Security number is totally made up. You can't steal her identity because she doesn't actually exist. And she has a spouse, a husband. That would be Alan J. Cimino. Not all married people have the same last name. Can't make assumptions. And his Social Security number. Neatness counts when you're doing this for real, but I'm trying to be quick. Here, their made-up address is 4379 Coolidge Street. In the city, Orlando, Florida. Florida's FL 32822. Now, if a person is a U.S. citizen, they have to pay U.S. taxes, even if they currently reside in a foreign country. So if that was the case, you'd put that information here. Let's go over here to this box. This always brings up some questions. The presidential election campaign. This does not mean that the money that you say yes, you want to go to this fund, this does not change how much tax that you pay. This comes from the federal money. This money also goes to pediatric medical research. I don't know why that's not listed here, but it's listed in the instructions, which is a 104-page booklet that we're going to take a look at very small parts of. So I'm going to say yes, that Amy and Alan both want to contribute $3 to this. It helps fund elections for people who are not themselves millionaires and don't want to take a ton of corporate money. But that's another day. So the standard deduction, let's look at this. Someone can claim you as a dependent or your spouse as a dependent. That's not the case here, But if you're filing your income taxes as a high school student, you probably are somebody's dependent, probably your parents. There are some weird situations that can come up. They don't really apply here. It asks you if you or your spouse are born before 1955 or are blind. There are some special tax situations for those. Here's the last part I want to talk about on here, dependents. There are two kinds of dependents. There's those that are children, your children presumably, and the ones that are not. The ones that are not children would be things like if you have adult children that have, say, a disability that you take care of, that would count. If you have like a 30-year-old son who lives in your basement, that person is not your dependent. That's a different situation just because they live at home. A very common one is people who take care of their elderly parents or in-laws or grandparents or whatever. Adults that live in your home and get more than half of their support from you. So that's going to come up here. We have three dependents here. The first is Kate R. Cimino. She has a Social Security number, as all people around here do. If you are a U.S. citizen and are paying taxes, you definitely have a Social Security number. Now, Kate is the daughter, and Kate is 13 years old this year, so she does count towards the child tax credit. Kate has a sister, Ann A. Cimino. Social Security number 577961111. She is also the daughter of Amy and Alan. But as for the child tax credit, Ann is 18 years old. She no longer qualifies for that. The last year that a person qualifies for that is when they're 17. So she does not count towards the child tax credit. More on that some other time. Since this person is, the next person is David C. Mickelson. And David is 93, and he is the father of Amy R. Cimino. So he lives with them. And is dependent. But obviously he doesn't qualify for the child tax credit. There are circumstances where there could be a credit for this person. So I'm going to mark where it's credit for other dependents. There is a separate worksheet to figure out if that's valid and how much it would be worth. That is all we're going to go through right now. There are many different permutations that can come up with this, approximately 327 million, actually. But for now, that's all I've got to say about that. So stay safe, stay sane, and I will see you on the other side.